Okay, I hope you stick with me for just a few minutes and do like kind of a thought exercise or a thought experiment along with me here. So I'll start it by talking about sleep. A certain amount of hours each night, a normal person sleeps. This means that they lay down or at least get somewhat comfortable and close their eyes. And depending on how tired they are, they will either fall asleep right away or will lay there thinking thoughts until they eventually fall asleep. And basically, when we sleep, we lose consciousness until awakening from sleep. During sleep, a person's mind sometimes takes part or experiences somewhat of a story, and we call that dreaming. We have dreams. There's science that studies what happens when a person sleeps, or at least what people theorized what happens when a person sleeps and dreams. One thing, though, we don't control our thoughts and dreams the same way we do in real life. And real life is a real thing. It's something that we experience, and there's parts to this reality that we all use our senses to perceive. Sleep is one of the most important parts of life, I think, because we all need sleep. It's probably important to notice and acknowledge the fact that we all must sleep. And we really don't know much about it, except the science that men have made up, giving things names and categories and elements and details and what we do as men. The only kind of descriptions that men invest in or believe in. Have you ever been very tired and dozed off and then woke up just a few minutes later being confused about how much was able to happen during those short minutes? Remembering a whole complex dream that seemed to be like a whole day long? Sleep is also a little bit like the wind. It kind of shows up on its schedule, and it decides when we fall asleep. Sometimes we can even fight against this wind and have a hard time falling asleep. Sometimes it's not even falling asleep, and then the morning comes in. It's kind of like, you're going to be tired the next day. Think about how time goes by so fast when sleeping. But for everyone that's awake, it goes at a normal speed. So when we sleep, time is different than when we are awake. Or at least it seems that way. Is it time changing? Or does it even exist when a person is asleep? To them? Kind of like when you stand at the water's edge and face the sun. And you can see the reflection of the sun going from the sun directly to your feet. Directly to you. And also to all the other people standing at other water's edges around the world that can see the sun. The sun is making a reflection go straight towards them. We kind of all have a personal and individual view of the sun as if it is pointed directly towards us. And it does, right? Perception is important to think about because we all perceive everything with our bodies and the senses we have. This is the experience of life. Okay, if someone said, okay, here we go, let's do this mind exercise or whatever you want to call it, thought experiment. Okay, if someone said to you that nobody in this world actually sleeps, and that was the statement they were making, what would you say to that? They just said to you, Nobody in this world actually sleeps. I'm hoping that you would say that you have evidence, and first-hand evidence, that shows that people in this world actually do sleep. It's an observation that everyone makes each time they sleep. It could be argued that people obviously sleep, and that is not something that should even be questioned. I would argue that sleep is just a part of the reality that we find ourselves experiencing in this world, and it is a part of life to sleep. To be alive, part of being alive is sleep. In the similar way that fish live in water and swim, humans live on Earth and sleep. So what is this thought experiment for? It's to show a similarity to something in this world that is a part of reality in the same way, and everyone experiences and observes it every moment of every day. But they all tell you that nobody actually sleeps. That's the statement that's made by so many people. We have evidence to the contrary of this idea that these people have. And it's something similar to saying that nobody in the world actually sleeps. Let me elaborate on this again. Why do people who live on the earth think that it is rotating? All I hear is people telling me that nobody actually sleeps. Like a blatantly false and clearly wrong statement. Why do people tell me that the earth is rotating? While they're saying it, while the words come out of their mouth, they're actually making an observation to that conflicts with the words coming out of their mouth. They're observing the earth being still and stationary, and they're trying to convince others that it's actually the opposite. What is truth, guys? Think about that. What is truth? The ground beneath our feet is still and solid and completely stationary. To think that right now is an appropriate time for you to think about inertial reference frames is to just be making an excuse and to be an error. Some feel compelled to tell me that I don't understand relativity and that the earth could be moving and we wouldn't feel the motion. Well, I feel compelled to tell them that the earth they do observe and live in for their whole life, it's not moving. It's still. It's solid. It is not in motion, which is the observation that is made, but immediately rejected. They tried to convince me that there's a better way of understanding reality, and that to use the senses I have in my body to understand the reality I live in is not science. I think that it is science to observe reality and gather data from the observations of that reality to learn about it. Today's idea of science is actually the opposite and is more like a cult or a religion that one must believe in. And people rip on me because I believe what it says in the Bible. But I don't for a second believe that I live on a globe that is in motion when I obviously live on the earth, the real one, that's not in motion. That's the observation. You make it too. So you can reject it or you can just observe it and experience it. You're going to anyway. If you pay attention to the reality you live in, you're using your senses and perceptions, you'll notice that the sky rotates, and the lights in the sky above the earth rotate in circles The sun literally flies over everyone every day, from one end of the sky to the other. This is an observation that everyone makes, and it is similar to sleep being part of life. The stationary and still ground beneath your feet is just as much part of life as sleep is part of life. It's not something to be in denial of, or to think we have a better way of understanding and that our observation of it being stationary isn't real, and that it's actually moving when we're all observing it not moving. Pendulums aren't evidence of the earth rotating. The sun going in the sky isn't evidence of the earth rotating. Riding in a jet with no windows has nothing to do with the earth rotating, or riding on a merry-go-round, or any of these other lame pseudoscience things that people want to bring up that we've all had in our minds at some point in time. It is all knowledge in error, and it's being exposed as being false for quite a few years now. Believe the truth instead. The earth you live on isn't a globe. It doesn't have curvature, and it certainly does not rotate. So I'll leave you with that, just to think about. I hope you get a good night's sleep, and I hope you dream about the truth. Thank you for listening.
On Mobile Sound.